Your electrical hose for your red outlet. So everybody see this? You can follow the lines and see that it's already hooked up there. You have your circuit here. This one actually has different filters. Like I said, this looks differently than that one. But you still have your universal circuit and you have external filters. The on switch is in the back of the ventilator. I can't show you that, but it's like a little panel right here. Everybody see this? All right, so when I actually click it, Sky and Marissa, y'all come around so y'all can see this. It's like a little silver, everybody see that little silver notch? So this kind of pulls down and it locks it when it's off, all right? But if I'm gonna turn it on, I'm gonna take this and it flips up. And then your ventilator comes on. And it should come on with a name. Thank you, honey. All right. All right, so it's going to ask you about that pre-check first. Alarm silent button in the yellow. All right, get used to it because this one I can't turn off the oxygen alarm. So every 2 minutes you're going to have to hit that silent button because I can't turn it off. I think it's in the machine in this one and it doesn't have it where you can turn it. But do you want to start pre-use check? Tell us, of course, in the lab that you would do your system operations check and check it for yours. Any leaks, any ventilator operations or any circuit operations, but you're gonna do a system check, but not right now. We're not doing that today. But yes, you would, but we're gonna say no today. This guy asks you another question. Do you want to delete your patient data, trends, and event log? If you were actually coming back, say your patient went on a transport and you're coming back up here, obviously you will say no, you don't want to delete anything from that patient, but basically with a new patient you could. So just for this, I'm just going to say no, but that's like if you're wanting a new patient, but you could do that. So it tells you here, you're in standby, use your pre-use check, patient circuit test, all those. If you did the system check, it would give you the dates for that. But here, where do we start? I think you had adult over here with the heights and all that. So you have adult or infant, and then you have invasive or non-invasive. So we're going to do adult and invasive, right? That's really the only kind of check here. Not that difficult. So then we're going to actually do start ventilation. Once we hit start ventilation, we're going to start at the very top. I'm going to go ahead and hit this again. So we're going to start with volume control. All right, so if I hit volume control, everybody saw that in the top left? All right, if I hit that little arrow down, it's going to give me any mode that I want. So those are all your modes. Volume control, pressure control, y'all have heard of PRVC, pressure support or CPAP. That's the same thing as spontaneous, right? Because CPAP is spontaneous breathing. SIMV with pressure support, which is volume control ventilation, or SIV pressure support pressure control ventilation, or SIV PRVC and pressure control. So you got different little modes you could do there. And bi-vent. Bi-vent is the same as bi-level, which is the same as APRV. It's just on the different ventilators, they call it differently. So you're still given 2 levels of pressure, right? Bi-levels, 2 levels of pressure. Bi's 2, same thing, 2 levels of pressure. 1 on inspiration, 1 on expiration, right? Kind of like an invasive BiPAP. Everybody's good with that? So what are we going to choose for our modes? That's the first thing. That's number 1, right? Volume control. All right. So it doesn't. When it goes to volume control here on this ventilator, it's automatically assist control. So it doesn't even have assist on there, but it's just volume control. The first one here is total volume. So again, this was kind of like a top to bottom. If you just kind of go columns, left to right, top to bottom, left to right, you can kind of hit everything. So I'll have to give you an ideal body weight. So 50. Okay, how did you get that? Okay, what's your range?
6 to 8.
Okay, so instead of me asking all those questions, come out with it. Total volume is 6 to 8 mLs per kilo. I'm going to go with 7. 7 times 50 is going to be 350. Okay, make sense? Mm-hmm. So how do I adjust it? I can hit the button here, hit the button here, and then I'm going to turn this blue knob over here. Alright? And I'm just going to hit it back. Okay? I'm going to go down. I'm just going to do top to bottom. What's my respiratory rate range? What are y'all going to choose? Give me one.
12.
Okay. Pete, 3 to 5. Look at 5. You want a 5? FI2, we were a code situation.
100.
Okay. We're just gonna, well, let me go over 60 right now. Okay, because I have no O2. So we're just going to put an O2 at something. Alright? This one will let you adjust IE ratio here. We're going to keep an average of 1 to 2. We don't really do a pause time or inspiratory time right now, so you can kind of leave those. But what's my flow trigger?
That's your
Flow trigger. Y'all set that over at Miss Temple. She gave you a range. 2 to 3. 2 to 3.
2.
Where y'all want it? I think she likes it 3. So we'll stay with her. Say 3. Alright, that's your flow trigger. Now also you have what else over there? On the other ventilator. Where y'all set? Because we had mode, throttle volume, rate, peak, FI2, and trigger. What am I missing?
The
Ramp, right? So you
Yes.
don't have a ramp on here. Alright, what else was it?
Flow.
Flow rate. Because that was 40 to 60. Remember she set it
Yeah.
at 50. So you don't have flow rate and you don't have ramp on here. But you do on there. So when you're checking off, depending on your ventilator, you got to make sure you have all 8 on here. You could tell me that you just you don't have ramp or flow rate to adjust, but you could tell me what your ranges are. Ramp, you want what kind of ramp? What's that called?
Gradual.
Did y'all call it? I call it decelerating. What do y'all call the ramp?
Decelerating ramp.
Yeah, it's actually decelerating because then you have another one, then you have a square.
I was going to say not square.
Yeah, square, and then decelerating. So, but it is gradual. I'll take that. That's still gradual, but decelerating ramp. And then what I say, flow rate,
Yes.
40 to 60.
Mhm.
All right, you set it probably around 50 to start. And then you can adjust your IE ratio. You can adjust your IE ratio. You can set it here, but you can actually adjust it by your frequency or your respiratory rate and your flow rate. Here you can't because you don't have that flow rate to adjust it with. All right, so you only have to adjust it this way. So you can actually force them to have a certain IE ratio. All right, make sense?
Yes.
So what am I going to do? Always do what Ms. Temple said.
Except.
Accept. And then there you go. All right. So your settings are here on the bottom, just like your settings over there on the bottom. But now where are your monitoring numbers? They're actually on the side. All right, they're on the right side over here. So there is no apneic settings on here as well. This machine has them defaulted in. So you're going to tell me on this ventilator that you would adjust your apneic settings, because remember that's part of your checkoff, and you would match it up with your initial settings. I would then adjust my apnea settings to match up everything with my initial settings. And then I do what?
Place it on the patient.
Put that on, and then I can actually do what? I'll go ahead and I can actually do my alarms if I want to, or you could do your monitoring. All right? I'm okay with whatever you want to start. I just want to show you where alarms are though, but alarms and monitoring. So everybody's okay up to this point. Know a little bit of the differences between the two ventilators. There are a couple things that this ventilator does not have that one has the bells and whistles on. All right? But I need y'all to understand when you're going to different clinical sites, we have to show y'all a couple different ventilators because not all clinical sites have the same ventilator, right? So what am I going to do? This one actually has some buttons over here, so I'm going to go through that buttons here. So alarm silence. This one says alarm profile. So if I hit that, guess what comes up? My alarms. It's really simple. Top to bottom, left to right. Y'all good with that? All right. So pressure pretty much is the first one, just does not have a low one. That one did not either. So where do I read my pressure? Remember I'm over here. My PIP is 28. What did Miss Temple say to go in your pressure? 10 to 15 above. All right, so I don't know. What's 10 and be what? 38. So you want like 40 something?
43 would be
All right,
15.
I'm going to do 45. All right, just to, which you can do that. That's 17, I know, but let's just live on the
Now
edge.
she's at.
All right, let's just live on the edge.
You're going crazy.
I'm going crazy today. So I'm going to turn my sound level. I'm going to go ahead and turn that down because it's just really loud. All right. So now these actually have lows and highs. So this one's minute ventilation. All right. So my minute ventilation you can read right here is at 3.7. So a low would be what? That's why it's flashing because it's 3.7 and my alarm's at 5.
You do like 1.2.
Remember, we usually don't go below 3. In this situation at 3.7, I may go down to 2.5 or something like that. All right, do y'all agree with that's okay? And then how about the above? What does she say? Still around 10 or so, 5 to 10 or something like that. So let's just round that to 4. You know, I can round it off to 4 there. Just keep going up anyway. So,
Like 4, 4.5 or something like that.
So
so maybe
20 or 15, 12.
maybe 4, 10 above will be 14. So, you know, I'm gonna even it out to 15. All right, y'all okay with that? All right, what's the next one? Respiratory rate. So respiratory rate's right here at 12. They're riding the ventilator. All right, because I have it set at 12, so they're riding the ventilator. So respiratory rate, this one does have a low. That one didn't. I think that just had a high. So my low here, I probably will, if they start sleeping or something like that, I probably will do about 8. Because that's kind of normal sleep respiratory rate. What about 10 to 20 above or around 22 or something like that?
Mhm.
Y'all good with that? 25? I'm liking those kind of numbers today. How about y'all? All right, y'all can see alarms are just kind of that. They're just alerts to let you know what your patient's doing above what you have set. That's it. So they're not engraved in stone where you have to go 5 here or 10 there. You know, just do something to where it's close. I don't want to see respiratory rate, highs as 70. I mean, just so you don't hear the daggone alarm. I mean, that's crazy, right? So at least be reasonable with your alarms. And this one actually is a PEEP alarm. It's end expiratory pressure. What's end expiratory pressure? PEEP. Positive end expiratory pressure is your PEEP alarm. So our PEEP is set at, I think we did 5. So 2, 10, right? Something like that. And what do I need to do? So not as many alarms on here as you have on there, obviously. So I have as many alarms. So we set our alarms, and now we're going to do our monitoring, right? So I'm going to start with the patient. Do all my monitoring with my patient. Do all my monitoring with my ECG. And then I'm going to come here and do my monitoring on the ventilator. I see where my settings are. My settings are actually showed up here. I can adjust my settings back up here, right? So if I hit that top button here, I can go through and adjust my settings if I want to. But guess what? What if I don't want to adjust them there? I can actually adjust them here. Look at that. Oh. I can adjust my settings here. Right?
So you pushed the button?
I didn't. I just was trying to get it to
okay.
turn. Respiratory rate, your total. You can adjust your settings here. You can go back up here. It's just giving you 2 options. All right? If you feel like, kind of going through and flipping this up, you can. Obviously, you could do that. And if a quick power off, you can do that here. All right? But what else is over here while I'm here?
O2 breath.
You actually have, and so you can see these match up with those, right? That matches up with these. So you have a start breath, so that's like a manual breath. That's an O2 breath for 100% O2 for 2 minutes. Expiratory hold and inspiratory hold. That's how you would get what? Your plateau pressure, your compliance and resistance. All right? We already showed you your alarm up here. Alarm profile will actually let you set your alarms. All right? And you always have to hit cancel on a screen. Saving in trends will just let you go back and save what information's here. Trends lets you go back and see just different trends your patient's doing. What about the little blue circles? So you got quick access. Quick access gives you suction support. So when you're suctioning, things like that, you kind of tell it that, hey, I'm suctioning, don't mess up my numbers and stuff, or go crazy with your alarms. Loops. Remember? Ms. Symbol showed you that you have a flow. This one's actually flow volume, and this is volume pressure. You can actually change them. So when we get into loops, we'll adjust those, or we get into graphics. I think that's later on in y'all's lecture, so I'm not going to get into that. But you still have your waveforms, and you still have your loops. All right. So some people leave it on that screen. They kind of like that screen. Also, you can do your scalar waveforms and see more and adjust in there. And you can do like a waveform configuration, what you want. Like if you want your pressure volume loop up here, if you want it over here, you can configure where you want them, where you see them. Just really neat looking.
Can you repeat those bottom buttons again? The ones that are on the far right, the square ones?
Oh, manual breath, start breath is a manual breath. O2 breath is at 100% O2. And expiratory hold and inspiratory hold. And those give you, expiratory is going to have to give you resistance. Inspiratory is going to give you plateau and compliance. And here, you don't, it's not going to give it to you. You have to actually coordinate it with your patient's breath. I know. So you just have to like look at them breathe and hit an inspiratory hold, and then the next breath the vent gives them, it will give you the number. So it'll give you the number, but you have to coordinate it with that breath. On that one, you can just hit it and it'll just give it to you on the next breath. This one, you have to coordinate with the patient. All right? Huh?
Back to the pioneer days.
Yeah. And the menu just takes you back to the main menu, obviously. Just takes you back to that. If you don't want to hit the alarm panel for your alarms, which is quicker, you can actually hit menu and hit alarm, hit profile, and it'll come up, which is quicker. Where it says alarm profile. You can get to alarm profile from here. You just gotta go through several different buttons and get to it. Alright? So review is just reviewing over your trends and like I said, your event log. You can actually compensate for your compliance if you have really bad compliance, things like that, you can compensate for it. These are just biomedical stuff. You can lock your screen, all that stuff is there too. Alright? So that's actually menu. Main screen just takes you back to your main screen. Like I said, remember some people like your loops on there, so they kind of leave their loops up there. Additional settings. You can actually adjust your IE ratio, your pause time, and your rise time, but you can also do it up in the volume control in the main menu too, right? And then trigger. You can actually adjust that there too. Or you could just hit your volume control button and adjust them anyway. So it's just giving you some different options for some reason. All right. What you want to know is monitoring. So you actually have 3 pages of monitoring. So your first page is going to give you peak inspiratory pressure, your PIP, your mean airway pressure, your peak, your total respiratory rate, your FiO2, IE ratio, minute ventilation, and then your exhale tidal volume is the bottom one here. That's inspiratory tidal volume, that's expiratory. And typically we chart expiratory. Alright, so that's kind of your first screen that we usually go by. So again, top to bottom, just read everything to us. Go to additional values, which is your next page. Gives you PIP again, but also gives you your plateau. Gives you mean airway pressure, PEEP again, total respiratory, FiO2. Usually we don't do your flow, that one. See, that's your I time, IE ratio. I don't think y'all went over these before, but your exhale tidal volume. So then your next page is going to give you what we're looking for basically in your compliance. This one's static, but that one's dynamic. And this one actually is inspiratory, expiratory. Are you doing inspiratory, expiratory resistance, Miss T?
I think it comes up as expiratory resistance.
Is it? Okay. So this one has a lot of resistance if we're doing that one. We're looking to make sure. But that's your resistance, inspiratory and expiratory resistance. So you just have to keep hitting next page for it. So just keep hitting next page and you'll see it. So your plateau is on that second page, but your compliance and your resistance is on the third. Everybody see that?
So what
So
happens
say inspiratory, expiratory out there.
after you hit it the third time? Will it go back to the first one?
You hit it again, and it just goes back to the first page. It's only
It
3
just says
pages.
resistance.
Huh?
It just says resistance.
Okay.
In the hospital aid, one of these ones, it goes off.
Expiratory? Okay, so we'll do the expiratory resistance one. This one gives you both inspiratory and expiratory.
Yeah.
Mean airway pressure, it says P mean. That's your mean airway pressure. P, total respiratory rate, this is what your patients are doing, right? This is what your patients are doing. This is